Ordinarily, I don't tape a video at this point in time, coming home from work and being exhausted. But I happened to see what's going on at the Comic Con, and, well, a lot of stuff was going on, but probably the biggest moment was the confirmation of a rumor that I talked about just a few days ago, is that Robert Downey Jr. will be returning to the MCU as Doctor Doom. So, they did a little masquerade show there, and he shows up and pulls the mask off, and yay, there he is. I doubt that that's the outfit, although it would be kind of funny. And oops, maybe it is, but I doubt it, no. But anyway, so I quickly did a little cartoon of Robert Downey Doom. Just, to have, might come in handy. And so there you have it. Obviously, the desperation for the MCU. This was not the plan. They announced, of course, also confirmed the Russo brothers are back, and they will direct, now being called Avengers Doomsday, where Robert will debut in his new role as Doctor Doom. And then they will also do Secret Wars, which I'm certain Doctor Doom's machinations will lead to Secret Wars. And of course, Doctor Doom was very prominent in both versions of it. The original version back in the 80s, not the sequel, but in the first original Secret Wars, Doctor Doom was a big player in that. And kind of wondering if they will make use of that. But I suspect it'll have more in common with the later version that Jonathan Hickman did, which became a multiverse shenanigans heavy thing, But then Doctor Doom was at the center of that as well. And so maybe that'll be the case here. The problem is that their original setup was Kang, and the scandal happened. Plus, the movie flopped anyway with Ant-Man Quantumania, and then his involvement in Loki. But, by then the scandal had happened, and so those plans had to be rearranged, even though the original title of the movie was Kang Dynasty. And so all of that is scrapped, and now you have to shoehorn in Doctor Doom. And it will be a shoehorn because the setup was for Kang. They had already laid this out to do a similar take on a main big villain the way they did with Thanos. The opportunity is just not really there. The Fantastic Four are upon us, and one would assume that there would be an involvement with a Doctor Doom in that, since he's primarily a Fantastic Four villain. He's crossed over into other things. He's fought the Avengers and so on and so forth. He's a big villain for Marvel. But with this multiverse shenanigans, the idea that future Fantastic Four movies, provided it survives this, because there's troubling things about that as well, but it'll probably be another actor playing the role, another alternate version once they get through all this multiverse crap and settle down on a cohesive overall narrative, provided MCU survives again. Then I suspect someone else will get the role going forward in that. Since this has been confirmed that yes, this is how Robert Downey Jr. returns, then I have to assume that also within the rumor it was stated that he would not be playing Victor Von Doom. He would be playing another version of Tony Stark, a Tony Stark that went bad. So I don't know, why does he call himself Doctor Doom? I guess they would come up with some silly shenanigans as to how that happened. But nevertheless, if that's the case, I don't know that would go over very well with multiverse variants and whatnot and all that sort of. Yeah, you could just do anything. It could be a kitty cat. But anyway, one of the things that makes an interesting take on this, which could also resolve their recasting and whatnot, is that within the comic books of Marvel, with Doctor Doom learned from aliens the ability to project his mind into other people's bodies. He could switch bodies with people. And he did this to Reed Richards originally in the story. Later on, it was reused during John Byrne's era, where Doctor Doom was trapped within his own armor, and there was this battle going on between Terax the Tamer and Silver Surfer, and they both became a giant flaming, big fireball and crashed into where Doom was trapped. And Doom had anticipated that he was in serious jeopardy being stuck there. So he projected his mind into the body of a bystander. And the bystander, I have to assume he perished stuck inside Doom's body. Later on, they used the Beyonder to fix everything because, he's God. So recreated Doom's body, and so he went back to his own, and the poor bystander was rescued from this. But there you have it, where you could have an alternate reality where this was a Marvel universe where Doctor Doom was established there, and he switched places with Tony Stark. And they were thinking Victor Von Doom is dead, but really it was Tony Stark who was lost because he had switched bodies with him. And so now... And in that narrative, it fits in with the comic book lore, and also you don't have the image of Tony Stark being besmirched here. It's the main thing of bringing back Robert Downey Jr. and the excitement that generates is, Iron Man's back. Well, no, he's not. And of course, the other problem is Iron Man got this send-off, his heroic death in Endgame, and then you kind of mess this up. You can't get away with that every time, is how Deadpool and Wolverine dealt with Logan's End, by being silly and saying, well, it's an alternate version. And of course, this is an alternate version of Tony Stark. But I think, and also weaving it in, if this is to be the Doctor Doom of the Fantastic Four that they're introducing, then it could be that they were in a world where there was a Tony Stark and he was being Iron Man and all that stuff, but ran afoul of Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom stole his body. And there you go. He looks like Tony Stark for the time being, And after all is said and done, maybe he's restored to his real body, because after Secret Wars and those type of shenanigans, which I suspect will mirror the Hickman version, it's a whole new universe after that. So, it's one way of dealing with it, and it's, it's sort of an interesting reveal here. Everything's been spoiled. I mean, I'm sure there was, if they could have kept it under wraps, they would have, but look how that went with Spider-Man. So obviously, at least for the Avengers, when Doctor Doom's mask comes off and they see that it's Tony Stark, if they're going to say he's a combination of Victor Von Doom and Tony Stark, then he would probably be scarred. But if it's the story I'm leaning towards, where he stole Tony Stark's body, it's still going to, be a gut punch for the surviving Avengers who remember their fallen comrade and all that. But for the audience, you already know it's coming. If there's any attempt at setup, that would help, but by now there's probably not enough time. There would probably be a few in-credit cameos of Robert portraying the role in Fantastic Four, and I don't know about Thunderbolts or Captain America or anything. But there's very little time for them to do the build-up and setup leading to something like this, the way it was done initially with Thanos. So, but that's the position they're in, and for all the dumb stuff they did with the crappy movies they put out, which really robbed so much time and damaged the brand severely. The Jonathan Majors scandal is not their fault. I mean, who knew? That this kind of thing can derail plans like that. So that's what happens. So one wonders, what was the plan? Because I'm pretty sure they were wanting a return of Robert Downey Jr. How much would it be beyond a cameo and that sort of thing. Talk of yet an alternate version of Iron Man, and the rumors about a villainous Iron Man had been dropping around a time or two. I don't know. Was he always going to be Doctor Doom? With maybe vying against Kang for dominance over this plot or what have you. But saw real no sign of that. Everything was Kang until they had to hurry up and announce this, so people can remember there's an MCU still around. So, it's a Hail Mary pass type situation, but you can't keep doing it. You did it in Spider-Man, stuff like that. Deadpool does it, and it's worked out very well for Deadpool. But eventually, hey, maybe make some good stories that's based on the Marvel characters. Maybe that would work. So will it give them a boost and buy them some time? Maybe. But again, the setup, it's probably not going to go well because they don't have the time anymore. There's only a handful of movies left to get there. And whatever the Fantastic Four story becomes, who knows. But maybe they would just do some scene where their Doctor Doom switches bodies with Tony Stark. I doubt it, because you know why? Because that's deeply rooted in Marvel lore, and they just don't want to hire anybody who knows that stuff. So odds are no chance of that being how this occurs. They'll probably just say he's a bad version of Tony Stark and just go with that. So anyway, there you go. Robert Downey Doom.